Today what we're going to do is we're going to take a product that I got from EVBase, the light kit. I've got a bunch of it set up right over here, and we're going to attempt to install it in the car. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me here today. You guys remember when you were young and you got your first car? I was maybe 15 or so. I think my first car cost $1,000 or something. I took it straight home, started digging into the dashboard, had to put a new stereo in it. Most people are that same way, right? You either want to upgrade the stereo, you want to put maybe new tires and wheels on it, but something to make it different than the way you got it. So enter 2026 and you have Tesla. These cars come fully loaded, fully tricked out. It'd be pretty tough to personalize it and make it your own. So that's where third-party vendors like EVBase come in. They offer a wide variety of different things like light kits, just a variety of things to be able to personalize the car and make it your very own. Without further ado, there's a lot to do, so let's get started. So first off, let's talk about what comes in the box. I've got a few things on top, I'll go over that, but this is the package that it came in. So what I try to do before I do a job like this is I try to lay everything out and see if I can identify all the parts. First thing I want to say is you get a small piece of paper that has a barcode on it that you need to pull up on your phone, and that walks you through some instructions. There is also a label on there that will take you to a video that's supposed to be an instructional guide. I watched the video and I noticed that there are a few things that were different on his light kit from mine, so it's more of a general instruction video that talks about, how to pull panels off of the doors inside your Tesla and some things like that. So it's not super specific. You get these light strips, and these have a black backing on them. This is the part that's going to slide in between the door and the trim. This is the light that goes on out here. And then they've got this wiring harness that hooks up each one. And the first two you see here, these are labeled. These say front doors. The next two I've got laid out over here are for the back door. That seems to be where the labeling stops on these. So this one here, which is a bit shorter, that one goes over here on the left side of the dash. This shorter area here, then you have a gap over here, and then you have the long area. So I'm going to assume it goes right there. But we've got two that are slightly longer. You can see they're not labeled either. And then last but not least, we've got this one here that's super long. Again, no label on it, but it's fairly long. That it goes right over here, all the way behind the screen, and all the way over to this gap right over here. So let's talk about what else is in the package. You get this little handy tool that's used to pry off some of the trim inside of the car. This is your main controller, and you get 4 of these LED lamp controllers, and they all say exactly the same thing on them. You get this bag that says power switch, spare power cord. It's got what looks like plugs into the controller. You've got a main power switch. You've got this cable right here. It also came in this bag. This looks like it's a switch. And then you've got your main controller power cable right over here. Got some two-sided tape. And then last but not least, you've got this bundle of cables here that I have no idea what that says. I have no idea what they do. Now, something to keep in mind in the instructions that I did watch, in addition to using this tool, we had to have a small screwdriver, and then we had to have a T-tool. Let's get started. The first thing we've got to do is get to the 12-volt power source in here, and that's this panel right over there. I don't know if you can see that or not. The plug that we want to get to is this one right in here, and you got to depress a little clip on it right there to unplug it from this guy right down here, and that goes to the back of your 12 volt right over there. So once you've got that 12 volt unplugged up there, the next thing you want to do here is come around to the passenger side, and you want to remove this lower cover here so you can get to the wiring back there. As you can see, I've grabbed the corner already and started pulling it out here, and that gives you That gives you access to all the wiring and stuff underneath of the console. This is the main controller cable I showed you earlier, and I don't know if you can see down in there. One end of that hooks in right down there, and the other end of it, this one, is going to plug right back into this part of the controller. It takes just a little bit of doing, but you want to find there's a small opening that's right back in here that I got to from up top, and you want to route this all up to the passenger footwell area. So then next we're going to install these two console lights that's going to go on here, probably start right about where this brake is at, and then it'll come up to right up here, and then the wire will route up back behind here. So this panel here now has to come off. So if you look here, I've got mine pulled mostly loose. I didn't pull the clips out of the back because I don't think there's any need to, although it's partially in clip back there. And I'm running all the way up here to where I can run the wire out. And what I'm going to do with this surface here, they provided that double-sided tape. I'm going to attach the light fixture to the bottom of this metal trim. So that'll be my next step. And I don't know if you can see it, I don't have it plugged in yet. And before I do anything with that, I've got to go around and do the exact same thing to the other side. I've got the two light kits running down the side of the console. Again, don't have them plugged in yet, but I've got it ran over here. I've got it ran over on the driver's side. Next step is pulling off the side panels here from the dashboard. If you look at it here, you can see the clips on the back. These pull out pretty easy, but you basically stick your tool in behind there, pull out on it, and then that comes off, and that gives you access to some of the screws that we'll need to take off back here in order to get this panel off. And then we'll need, I believe that's a T20. So next I remove the two screws that are back here so that I can take the dash off. There was one here and then one back over here. This is a T20. And those come in a variety of different types. I use the one that goes in the end of my screwdriver, but you might get the one that has a T handle on the bottom of it. Everything I've read says it's not necessary to take this all the way off. So what I've done is I've just pulled it slightly loose here. And then this is a time where you probably want to tilt your monitor. I've seen other videos that show about taking this monitor off of here. I'm just tilting it out like this. And then when I come around, when I get ready to come around to the other side, I'll tilt it back the other way to give me access to this. So I don't know if that's the right approach. That's the approach I'm taking. I've got the strips in behind here, and you can see it's routed out through here to the side. Now I did stop a little bit short of the edge here because the wire that comes out of the back is a bit rigid, and I've seen a couple of other comments online where people have tried to come all the way to the edge and then bend it over, and it breaks the connection in there, and then the light doesn't work. So I tried to stop a little bit early so I could route it kind of more gradually down, and then this will all tuck up behind the panel that's over here. For this side, I ran one long strip all the way across. I cut it off. I did get a little bit of overhang here. There was something unique that I ran across with this, and let's go right. So what I tried to do is I tried to go one continuous line all the way from here over, and in order to make that happen, back behind here, your screen goes flat against this. So what I did was I ran it through here, but then I turned it upward and curved it, and I laid this flat, and I used some of the 3M tape to fasten it to the back there. And then I was able to close the screen on top of it, and that seemed to work okay. And that allowed me to take the one long piece and go from that end all the way over and then cut it off right here. So anyway, got that on there. I've popped these back in place. I haven't put the screws back in them yet. I'm waiting to get to the next part where I've got everything hooked up before I start fastening stuff back together up here. Now that I've got the dashboard mostly buttoned up, we've got the 1 to 3 extension cable that we've got to hook up, and here's what that looks like. That's this black cable here that has all of the little pigtails hanging off of it. It'll have a connection for each side of the dashboard, and we'll run it up under the footwell, and then it'll have a connection for the other side of the dashboard, and then there'll also be the connection in the middle that hooks up to the lights that are running along the console panel there. So along with that, you've got your main controller panel here, and these are the items that go next. So I've got the controller down there all hooked up, and you can see the lights running through the dash up here, running over here. Now the instructions didn't say anything at all about this little key thing right here, but I found by clicking through it, it gives me a bunch of different patterns here. And then I also believe if I scan on this, there's an app I can download that will allow me to change these rotating patterns from the app to control it with my phone. So we're not done yet. I haven't ripped into any of the doors yet. But so far I'm liking a lot what I see. It's pretty slick looking. So we're going to continue buttoning this stuff all up, and then we'll switch to the doors next. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video to see what it looks like after I'm finished. I'm starting to lose daylight. I haven't done the doors yet, but I'll come back in the morning and take care of those. In the meantime, I want to kind of show you a couple of things that I've done here. So again, we got the lights going. There's a variety of different settings you can set it on. I've left it on this one for the time being. Now, there is an app that you can use to control this from your phone, but it also comes with this little manual controller. I haven't played with the app yet, but I wanted to go ahead and hook the manual controller up just in case I had any problems with the app. So I was able to route the wiring up underneath here, and there's some adhesive on the back, and I can just use this button to select some various different designs. So it's kind of hidden right up under there. If you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't see it. I've started putting the corners back on. The trim pieces are all here. I've got this side over here all buttoned up. All the wiring is hid up underneath the dash. Over here on the passenger side, you can see I've got a bit of wiring stuff to button up. I'm not about to just wad it up and stuff it underneath it there. Hopefully you can see this. I have the controller sitting right in here. It's in there nice and sturdy, and it's out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to organize these wires, get them all tucked back under here once I've kind of fastened them all together and put them away nicely. And then we're going to stick the side on here. I've already buttoned up the side of the dash over here. And so far I'm liking what I see. And tomorrow, which is Sunday, I'll work on the doors. All right, we're back here and we've got our wires all cleaned up. This is all real nice and tidy. Nothing's falling around in here. Everything's wrapped up nice and tight. Cable's all underneath there. We're going to put this side on here, and then we're going to call it an evening. That ain't going nowhere. And just like that, it's the next day, and it's time to start on the doors. There are maybe 3 places on here where I have to use the T20 tool. And to get to that, I've got to pop a couple of things off. So I believe this needs to come off. There should be a screw underneath of that. I believe there's one right up under there. Once I take this trim piece off here, I believe there's at least a couple back behind here. But you got to take this off first before you can get to them. So that's going to be where I start first. You can see I've got this partially pried off, but before I went any further, I wanted to stop and show you. I don't know if you can see or not, but there's that little white clip that's right there. Don't pull on this too hard. Once you get this pulled loose a little bit, you got to take a screwdriver and press down on that top piece of that to release that clip. And then once you get that released, don't try to pry this out. Once you get this clip out, this whole thing needs to slide forward because I think it's tucked back here behind the door. Alright, so that's what that looks like when you get it out. And you can see right there with that ridge right here. That's why you got to push this down, and you got to press it down pretty far to get that out of there. And then again, if you look at that butt end of that, this piece right here kind of slides up back in here in this space. And that's the reason you want to slide it forward like that instead of just prying it straight out. Now that we've got that out, let's look and see what we've got behind here. We do have our, I think that's still a T20. Let me just look at that real quick while I've got the camera turned on here. That one is not. That's a different size. So I'll get the proper size out and let you know what that is. And let's see, is that the only one that's in here? Nope, there's another one back in there. And let's try that one. That one is also larger. These are a T30 instead of a T20. And fortunately, I have a whole set of these here, so didn't really matter what size they were. These two came out relatively easy, although I did wind up using my drill on them just because it was a little bit quicker. And the one on the side here, again, came out pretty easy, as did the one under the handle. The only one that was a little bit tricky, actually, was this one up under here. It was pretty tight, and also the angle is such that you have to kind of, you know, get around the bottom of the door here. Aside from that, these came out fairly easily. On to the next part, which is grabbing the bottom of the door and pulling it off. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here down at the bottom and pry out on this. Once we get this pop loose, we're not going to pry out on the top. We're going to lift up. See if I can zoom out just a little bit. We're going to lift up on the door because there are some fingers or clips, as I understand it, that run back here behind the back of the door. If you just pry out on those, you're going to break them. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but you got to disconnect this plug for the electronics once you get in here. And then also back behind there, there's another cable that runs. You can see it right down there. And I think that goes to the manual release for the door. Anyway, you need to unplug both of those before you can take the door the rest of the way off. So this is one where a second set of hands is kind of helpful. You've probably never wondered, but just in case you have, this is what the inside of a Tesla looks like, Tesla door. And I've got the power plug unplugged here. I've got the manual release unplugged. And then what you have to do is you have to find this box right up here. This is where your power is going to come from. So you got to tie into the red and the black right up here, which I've done. I've got the little box right up here. It may not stay right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the lights in and test it to make sure it works. Then once I do that, I'll figure out where I want to mount this permanently. But first, let's plug the light in just to make sure that we got power. And looks like we've got light here. It matches up with what I have turned on over here for the center console and the dashboard. Sorry, I can't leave the camera running while I'm doing the actual install. I'm trying to bring you back on every time I hit a little milestone here, but it's just too hard to hold the camera or get it positioned correctly. So anyway, I'm going to turn it back off. I'll click it back on here in just a moment. So we've got everything kind of buttoned up over here. The wire's pretty clean looking. Got them fastened down nicely, attached here. This box here has got a little bit of adhesive on the back and just tucked behind this wire harness right here. That's not going to go anywhere. It doesn't rattle or anything. So the light will get plugged back in right over here. The plan is to route the wiring for the door right up through this hole or right up through this hole. I'm going to guess this one here. This puts us right here by the back. But first we got to hang this on top of the rail where it came from. It clicks back into place pretty easy. You can see I've got it all snapped on here. I haven't put any of the screws back in yet, but just a reminder, make sure when you're putting it on, you tilt the bottom out. Get this top slid all the way down inside this channel up here, so it holds the top in. Once you've got that in, then you can shove the bottom in. You can usually look in the side, make sure that your clamp or your clips are going into the right hole, and then just give it a good slap every so often where the clips are at, and voila, you're in. So now we just got to reverse what we did before, put the screws back in all these different places, and we also need to figure out the routing of the light. So as I mentioned earlier, it may need to be clipped just a little bit, although in this case it kind of looks like it'll fit. We just got to decide how much of this cable we need out here and get it slid into place. I want to make a comment for anybody that hasn't done this before. This is actually my first time working on this, and it can be a little bit scary at first, tearing into these panels on your car. It's actually not that complicated, but I would encourage you to do projects only that are at your skill level. I don't want you to tear up your car. But this is a pretty straightforward job. It's the kind of job that I think most car enthusiasts with just a little bit of know-how can do. So if you're comfortable with it, it's a good job. It's not that hard to do. It does take a little bit of time, especially your first time around. I'm 100% confident my second door is going to go a lot faster than the first door, just because I've already gone through the steps on the first door, so I've kind of figured out where everything's at. But your first door, front and back, each are probably going to take you a little bit longer if you haven't done it before, and your second one should go pretty quickly. So I'm going to turn the camera back off and get these screws buttoned up so we can move on to the other door. The side's all buttoned up. We're going to clean up a bit here, and then we'll move over to the other door. Now, I'm not going to record the other side because it's exactly the same as this side. So I'll go and do that door, and then I'll bring you guys back when I get ready to start the rear doors. Front finish, we're ready to move on to the back doors. I've got the back doors open, and these should be marginally more difficult than the front just because of the angle of how you'll be working. So we are going to put away our T30 and break out the 10mm socket here. Got that in, ready to go. So we've got our light strips back over here. We've got our control panel. And we've got our power source. We'll hook inside the door. We're going to start right over here by pulling this corner off. We've got to pull the top down right up here. And then we'll circle around over here to this side. And then once we get that out, we'll have access to, I think it's 10mm right back behind there. Right back behind there, the others. And then we've got to remove this strip right after that to get to the remaining bolts that are in there. Once we've done that, towards the front of the car, there's a lip right up in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's your best place to get a hold of that. And we'll start from the bottom and just pull out on it. Now these fit in there pretty tightly, so you gotta grab them and give it a pretty solid pull. I won't be able to hold the camera while I'm doing it. I'll bring you back and kind of show you along each step of the way. We'll walk through the process. I'm gonna give you a visual as I go along here, since I can't actually record it while I'm doing it. But you can see I started from this corner right here, and I've worked my way over, and then I've simply got to go down that side over there. You got to watch out for these clips here. As you can see, I had one fall out while I was pulling this down. It dropped somewhere in the car. I'll have to find that. But essentially there's an opening here that will allow those clips to slide out. So you just got to be careful of that so you don't lose those as you're going along the process. Another thing to be aware of is sometimes you'll look down there, you'll see the clip missing and you think you've lost it, when in fact what can happen is if you look right up here, the clip actually stayed in place up there. So you'll need to take a screwdriver, a pair of pliers, pull that out so that you can reattach it later. With the trim out, you can start to see, here's one of our 10mm here. There's another one back there. And same, you've got two on this side, one up here and one up here. And then down here, you'll notice I've already kind of popped this loose. Now what you want to do is once you pop this loose, don't pry on it too hard. There's two metal clips. In the front door, there was one metal clip. Back here, there's two. There's one back here. Then there's another one up here, and I'll show you those here in just a little bit. You've actually got to stick a skinny screwdriver down in there and depress the metal clip in order to be able to pull that out. But right there is the little metal clip that you got to press down on. And then towards the back, you get a little bit more play back in here. The other one is down a little lower. It's almost down on the bottom, but you can see it if you look right in here. So there's the end of it. There's the end of the panel. And right down there, but way down by the bottom, is the other clip. So you stick a tiny screwdriver or something in there to depress that. And there's actually two ridges, so you got to depress it pretty hard. And then from there, you'll be able to pull this right out. All right, so this is out. I want to show you these clips. Here's the one that I was telling you is down by the bottom. And as you can see, there's a pretty big lip there. And this is a part that you have to compress. The other one here is up closer to the top. Now, there was one other thing I failed to mention, and that is when you're trying to take these out, they actually rest behind this little lip, if you can see that in there. So don't just press it down and try to rip it straight out. You have to slide the trim back to get over here to this gap here, then depress it, and then it'll come out. Now here's our 1, 2, 3, 4. This one up here, you don't need to bother with that. That's something totally separate. I think that's probably holding the airbag in or something, but leave that one alone. Take all these out that are holding on to the plastic. I've got the door panel off. It was a little tougher than I expected, and there's a couple things I want to point out to you just so that you're aware. Number one, when you do this, it's probably better to have a friend. I didn't have anybody here helping me today, so I had to do it by myself, and it is doable, but you'll see in a minute why it's better if you have somebody here with an extra set of hands. First of all, over here where your pry point is at to start pulling the door off, you do have to be a little bit careful with what you're sticking in here, because your speaker is right here. And this is the side where they left the opening for you to stick a pry bar in there, so just be careful how far you stick anything in there to start prying up, because your speaker's over here. The other thing to be aware of, and this is really important, you have 2 plugs that you got to unplug before you can drop that door, before you can drop the door cartridge over there down to the floor, and the wires are not that long. So you get this plug right here. You want to have either yourself holding that door panel up until you can unplug this. So you got this one here, and then you got another one right over here. And neither of these are very long. They'll let the door panel come down about, about yay high. So you need to be able to hold the door panel up and unplug these at the same time. This one's got the little red lever on it that you pull up, and then you've got to reach in and press down on the knob to take it out. This one here just has a little white tab that's inside there. Not this one, but this one. You press the white tab in and you can pull it out. Now the other thing that's important under here, a couple other things, is you can see this is where the tabs come out, right? This is what holds the door in place. You'll see some of these didn't come out. Some of these stayed on here. And so you'll want to go around before you get ready to put your door back on and use a plier, some other way to pry these out of here, because you're going to need those to put back in your door card before you hang that back on here. Last thing I'd point out is this little box right here. This is your power source. This is what you're going to plug into over here. We've got a blue wire and a black wire. And so we're going to hook our black to the black, and we're going to hook our red wire to this red wire right here. This small wire, I'm not sure what that is. It's too small to be the wire we're looking for. But anyway, we're going to hook to our blue and our black. By the way, I didn't mention this, but it kind of goes without saying. You're going to make your life a whole lot easier. You unplug this power cable before you start trying to tap into the back of it. It's just much easier to handle it because the openings back here are pretty tight. So you're going to want to plug in back here in the back, and then I'd recommend you securing that nicely with some electrical tape to keep everything in place. Once you get that done, then you can plug it back in. So we get this wired up. The box there. I've already tested this with the light, and we have power. I've got the power cord fastened back in there. Now I'm going to lower the door down a little bit so we can find a nice little spot in here to store our wiring, and then we're going to go about starting to button things back up. A couple things I want to point out. You'll notice these right here are missing from several of these. So the ones that came out with the door, I've put them back in, but these here were missing, and they weren't there when I took the door out. Now this door has been in to be repaired a couple of different times. It had some sensor issues, and so it's been in to Tesla to be repaired, and my guess is this is some sloppy work where their technician pulled those out or broke them or something, and so he just stuck these back in there, so they'll just be waving around in the hole. They won't actually be holding anything in place. Fortunately, there's enough clips here that it should still be fine, but shame on Tesla kind of for putting it back together that way. The one other thing that I noticed, this clip right here is broken, and again, it was that way when I pulled it out. I think I'd mentioned that you have to pull this red clip up. Then there's a tab you're supposed to press in there. That was broken. There was nothing to press when I got to this. So fortunately, this seems to fit in the slot really tightly. So not much of a chance of it coming out. But again, thinking this happened during one of my 2 repairs that I had it into Tesla to repair. So really should have done the right thing and replaced that when they broke it. All right, well, we've got things kind of buttoned up inside there. You can see our lights on. We've got everything kind of neatly packaged up over here. So we're ready to just put this all back in place and start trying to put the trim back on. We've got everything done, put back together. Now all we got to do is the cleanup. Before we do that, let's jump inside the car. We've got all the lights off in the garage so that you can see a little bit better. And let's take a look and see how it looks. First off, when you open the door, this is how it greets you. Got a nice strobe setting going across there. Now I've got it set up to where when I drive at night, it's not too bright. I have it turned down as dim as I can get it. And I like just the light blue line across there, but you can change all different colors here. You'll see it runs all through the car. It's down here on the console. Got our back seats there, both sides. So let's take a look and see what we can make it do with the remote we have up here. Now you can also use an app on the phone. I kind of like the remote. So you can change your colors. That's all the way off in case it's late at night and the light's bothering you. You've got a whole variety of different choices here you can do. Again, it's all synchronized all the way throughout the car. There's also a setting on here where if you're playing music and you want it to go to the beat of the music, you can do that. Again, we've got it going in the back seat as well. Let's try a couple more views and just see what it looks like. And again, you can change your colors. Jenny kind of likes the white, so we probably use that when she's in the car. I kind of like the blue. So since I'm in here mostly by myself, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it beneficial. If you did, go out to EVBase and check out their website. They've got a lot of great products. Also, give me a like and a comment. Really helps the algorithm. Tell me what products that you've used. I want to remind you, I'm not a technician. I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a guy that makes an occasional YouTube video. So before you start this project or any other project where you're tearing into your car, do your due diligence. Make sure you're comfortable with the process. Aside from that, enjoy your car, do some mods. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.